Okay, so now that we're recording, I do want to let everybody know towards the end of the webinar, about 10 minutes or so left in the webinar, I'll go ahead and launch a poll. And from that poll, I'd really appreciate your feedback. Anything you have to say will be very helpful towards future webinars. So again, just an introduction for myself first. My name's Samantha. I'm the corporate trainer here at PM Toolbelt. We are based in St. Paul, Minnesota, and that's actually where I'm from. I grew up in the Highland Park West 7th neighborhood. A little bit about my background. I have an education background. I have worked with children, children as young as 2 to 3 years old, and I've worked with adults of all ages teaching all sorts of subjects. I've worked with children who are deaf and hard of hearing. I've worked with adults teaching them English as their second language. I've worked in high school, I've worked in middle school. I've helped with calculus, geometry, algebra, physics, chemistry, any school subject you can think of, guarantee I've worked in it. So that's just a little background about myself. I think education is actually really important when it comes to software because if you don't know a full capability of all the features it has, then you're not using the software to its full advantage. So that's why I really love being a trainer here for the software because it's another way of teaching. And so if you're here today, there's two reasons why that's the case. First, maybe you're just looking for a software that's more efficient than how you're currently using things, and you're always open to learning new things when it comes to that. Or the more likely scenario, the software that you're using right now isn't working when it comes to your maintenance and inspection. So you're exploring your options to see what's going to best fit the needs of your company. Today's webinar will be about 30 minutes long. I'll show everyone how to create and schedule a work order. I'll briefly mention how this works for outside vendors like contractors. And then I'll show that scheduling for an internal vendor, like for your in-house maintenance team. And I'll also show you inspections then as well. All this will also be shown in our mobile app, which has near full capability as our web app, meaning it's not just for technicians, really any company user could use it, like property managers may want to do an inspection on our mobile app. You can create work orders on our mobile app, you can schedule on our mobile app. And so just a quick touch base about that. We do have a couple of integrations. We do integrate with Rent Manager and QuickBooks Online. And if you have further questions about that, feel free to reach out to me after the webinar, and we could certainly do a one-on-one session where I show you those integrations. Before I forget, in the chat box that everyone should see, I'm going to provide you my name, my phone number, my contact information so you can reach out to me. So again, my name's Samantha. My email is samantha@pmtoolbelt.com. My phone number is 651-300-5429. And we do have a really great resource page called help.pmtoolbelt.com. And that's just another way that you can learn more about all of our capability for our software. In case you don't want to reach out to me directly, you can check out all the articles and support videos that we have. So moving on now to the webinar, I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in on this screen so we can see everything a little bit better. There we go. So we'll just go ahead and get started. Again, welcome everyone who is joining in. As I was talking, my name's Samantha. I'm the corporate trainer here at PM Toolbelt. Right here is our dashboard. This is going to be your home page. And so the point of the dashboard is to get quick snapshots of what's going on with all of your work orders. For example, all these colored boxes up here indicate what's going on with the work orders. So I have 21 work orders that are currently in progress. If I were to click that teal box, I'd be taken to a page to view all those work orders. So you can see we have a great pinwheel that does a breakdown of our work orders from the past week. We do have 10 different status options in PM Toolbelt, so potentially this would have 10 colors on it. We do have tasks as well. There's two purposes with tasks. You can associate them with work orders, so additional things you want technicians to do while they're at the property. But it's also an office management tool. If you need somebody to call a tenant or an owner, you could easily create that task in our system. We have a real-time feed to let you know what's going on. And then at the very bottom, we have scheduled work orders where you can quickly filter out if you want to see for today or tomorrow, for example. On the left-hand side, we have our home tab. Here's where everything's organized The main thing that I'll touch base on all this with properties, for example, we show related work orders. We have some really great reporting features that I'm really excited about, mainly the vendor work daily. This was just launched a couple weeks ago, and you can pull a report for your technicians that he did the previous day. And that means when he clocked in, when he started working on the work orders, all the materials that he purchased while he was in the field. You can pull all of that report and see it all in one clean report. When I scroll down more, I want to point out that we have surveys. If you set up surveys in our system, we automatically send out a survey to the tenant at the completion of the work order. And once the tenant responds to the survey, it would be logged in our surveys tab. So of course, realistically, not all tenants respond to the survey. And even if they do, maybe they're a little upset. But it's just another way for you to get that follow-up. If something wasn't done to their satisfaction, you need to know that to find out what happened with the work order. So this is another outlet for your tenants instead of reaching out to you directly and calling and emailing. Moving on to what we all care about, we have work orders. So this is a list of our work order page. Right now, let me sort by our work order number because it's sorting by vendor. So we can see all of our work orders that are sorted right now by most recent. You can see all the statuses are color coded for you to easily see what's going on with them. And then we have all of our filters. And so from here with the filters, you can quickly search by anything you want, whether it be property, certain vendors, assigned to, etc. So from here, you can create two types of work orders. You can add a recurring work order. So this would say be lawn care, whether this be weekly, bi-weekly, etc. You can even automatically schedule it to somebody. And then you have a one-time work order. Here's where we're going to create our work order. You do have the option to have a tenant portal plugin. So if you have a website, we would create a portal plugin for you where it would have the tab under tenants for, say, maintenance request. And from there, the tenant would plug in their phone number or email, and then they can submit that maintenance request. But we're going to go ahead and create the work order right here in our system. Anything with an asterisk is required. So we'll choose the due date. We'll choose the property. Let's go ahead and choose Summit Homes Unit A. You can see this house was built before 1978, so there are lead paint rules, as well as if you have a maintenance limit, that will be put there as well. So if you have a maintenance limit, say, of $250, then that would show up at the top of the page, and that's an indicator to you that you need to get approval from somebody, whether that be the owner or a coworker, supervisor, etc. And if that was the case, you'd get approval right down here about the work order before you can schedule it out. But moving on to creating this work order, you can see I chose my property and associated unit. The type is work order, but we do inspections as well. Now the work order category, these are all customizable in our system. If you want more specific work order category than maintenance, certainly you could have plumbing, electrical, HVAC as work order categories. Assigned to is if you want to assign this work order to a company user. We found that our rent manager customers use the assigned to field the most. Now the title. The title is a short description of what's going on with the work order. So let's say, well, it's actually snowing right now here in Minnesota. But let's go ahead and say that there was a storm last night and the window broke. So we need to replace the window. Area is where it is on the property. So if you want to say the master bedroom, downstairs bathroom, etc. Reference number is any additional way you would like to track the work order. Typically with your property management software, maybe you want to put in additional information right here. We have our severity level. Right now I'm going to say this is critical. We define critical as something that's done, that needs to be done the day of, but you can establish whatever time frame you would like. So for example, high needs to be done within 24 hours, medium's done within a couple of days, and low's done within a week. But because the window's broken, I'm going to say this is critical. That needs to be fixed now. The description is a more thorough explanation of what's going on with your work order. For example, I would say the tenant called, and because of the storm last night, a branch fell and broke the window. Chargebacks, anything? Oh, hey Ian, yes, we are recording this webinar. I'll be sure to send you that recording. Let me just go ahead and respond to that. Back to creating the work order, you have chargebacks. This would be a dollar amount to charging back to the tenant, say $10. And then we have technician notes. Technician notes aren't required, but anything you put here, only the technician is going to see. So this is a really great opportunity for you to let the technician know about the tenant or anything about the property. So typically it's animal related, such as let's say the cat might try to escape. And so if the cat's trying to escape, you can easily put in that note. Otherwise, you might want to warn about the tenant. So for example, if the tenant is really prickly, has a lot of attitude, then you may want to put that in there as well. When I scroll back up on the right-hand side, we have tasks. This task is associated with the property. And so if you want them to check if the batteries need to be replaced for the carbon monoxide detectors, maybe you need to check the smoke detectors, see if any light bulbs need to be replaced, etc., you can go ahead and add those to the work order. So then in the mobile app, the technician can't complete the work order until he's done. Then we have our related work orders. This is the 5 most recent work orders for this property. 2 main reasons for that. If the work order is already created, certainly you don't want to create another one. And it's also helpful for you to notice a pattern going on with this property. If you're seeing the same work orders are being generated, and maybe the same tenant is calling about it, then you know you need to delve deeper into it. Now you choose who you'd like to notify that you're creating this work order. So maybe you want to let the owner know that you're creating this work order and a property manager. You can go ahead and schedule from here, but at this time I'm going to go ahead and hit save. You can see you can create an estimate with the work order. You can get approval for this work order. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So you can see my work orders at the top of the page with the status of new. And we can see that some communication went out. So here's our work order with all of its information. We have the associated task. And then we have our communication log that was sent out after creating this work order. Now I'm going to go ahead and schedule this work order. You would go ahead and hit the schedule button right here and type who you're scheduling this to. I want to point out for an outside vendor, if you are scheduling to an outside vendor, we do support that. The contact method is via email or text. And essentially what that means is we send out a request asking if they can do the work. If they can do the work, then they would go ahead and confirm, and then they would schedule the work order. Once they schedule the work order, whoever you chose to be notified is notified about the schedule of this work order. Then once the work order is completed, we do thank the contractor for doing the work, and then we and then we ask them to upload their invoice, upload their photos, and add any resolution notes. So that's how it looks for a contractor. I'll go ahead and show you how it would look for an internal vendor, like your in-house maintenance team. That's Tom's Handyman for me. You can see I have a lot of texts scheduled for this particular vendor. And here's my work order at the very bottom. I would select that work order number and then drag and drop to the time that I would like. We do support for multiple technicians if you want to add as many as you want. And then, of course, you choose the start and end time, and then the access method. We could go ahead and say this is tenant present. We can indicate if we have tenant consent, and any other additional information that's needed for the details of this access method. So now you can choose Zach, my property manager, John, the owner, Itigo, our maintenance technician, are already checked to be notified about scheduling this work order. But at this time, I would also like my tenant, Marcia, to know about this work order. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule it out. So now we can see my work order is scheduled, and it shows up on the calendar. And you can see right here the status is scheduled. Let me go ahead and show you now our mobile app. Here we go. You can see a notification popped up about the scheduling of this work order on the mobile app. So if I refresh my Today tab, there we go. We have our work order scheduled with the date and time right there on the mobile app. And that's a good segue into our mobile app. So right now at the very bottom, we have the current tab, the Today, properties, and time. Time means if you want to track clocking in and clocking out, we certainly support that capability, but we also track time that's spent in the work order itself. So we have two distinctions with that. And that way you can analyze if they say clocked in at 9 a.m., but they didn't start a work order until 10:30 a.m., what were they doing for that hour and a half? Were they in the office? Were they trying to get keys? It's another way for accountability, for that transparency, so everybody understands what people are doing. If I swipe right, or if I select the three lines up here in the upper left-hand corner, we have our navigation menu. So from here, we can view all the work orders, inspections, estimates, etc. So if I were to go into work orders, for example, I can view all the work orders for this year. Now here's where the mobile app comes in, where it's not just for technicians. If I were to hit that plus sign, I can create a work order right there on the mobile app. As I said, you can schedule from our mobile app, both to an internal maintenance team or to an outside vendor. And then going back to that navigation menu, it's the same thing for inspections. You can create inspections on the spot. You can schedule inspections. You can create owners. You can view inspection templates. And something I want to point out, because we're here, we have a chat with support button. So if you're in the field and you have any questions, there's my face, that's me, Samantha. If you have any questions, you can easily reach out to us to ask that while you're in the field. And I do want to let everybody know that we do GPS tracking. So the second you clock in or the second you clock out, we do that GPS tracking to know where they are. And then same thing when they change the status in the work order. So for example, if I go into this work order right now that's scheduled to me, you can see it's scheduled. And if I change my status and I change it to travel time, we are now tracking the work order. So we can see now it changed from the Today tab to the Current tab, because now this is my current work order. I want to point out at the very top, we have the due date, and then the tenant permission to enter, it says yes. And the current hours worked right now is 0, but this will start accumulating now that we changed the status. So let's say I've arrived at the property, so now I'm going to change my status to working. And again, we did another GPS tracking of what they say, where they say they are when they change that status to working. We have the property information, the access method, the tech notes, the description, and then the task. So if I were to tap this task right here, I'll have the full information of the task associated with this work order. I do want to point out, you can't complete the work order until you complete all the tasks associated with it. So for example, if I were to change my status to work order finished, you'll see there's an alert. There's one incomplete task. So I can't complete this until I do that. So let's say I view the task and it says to check the batteries. Okay, I checked the batteries for the carbon monoxide detectors. I'm going to go ahead and add a note. Replace the batteries. So now we automatically added that note, and that's being added into PM Toolbelt as well. So for example, if I were to, let me move this over for a moment and refresh this page, you'll see in the real-time feed on the left-hand side, the note was added. And when I scroll down, I'm going to sort by date. We see when the work order was created, and we see all that information, that technician log, that GPS spot, and that note that was added that he replaced the batteries. All right, so from here, you can also add any photos. You always have to choose the photo category. So this may be a before damage. Let's say this is damage. You might want to type in a description. You can either take a photo or select photos. So let's go ahead and choose these 3 photos. And there's some dinosaur stickers right there for you guys. A little hint of amusement there. Hopefully you got a chuckle from that. So this is being updated in real time in PM Toolbelt as well. So now you can see for photos in parentheses it says 3 because we uploaded all those photos. So now let's say we're at the property and we realize we have to purchase a material. If that's the case, we change our status to getting parts, and then I select materials. I add that receipt. We do support inventory tracking. If you want to preset rates for materials, then you can add it as a price book item. Otherwise, let's say this is a one-time purchase and I had to make a stop at Home Depot. So sorry I'm going a little fast, but I think everyone gets the idea of how to add a material. We're going to go ahead and put in a dollar amount, $25. Let's say this is a new window for only $25. Pretty good deal if you think so. You go ahead and take that photo to scan the receipt, and then you add that receipt. So this is automatically being added into PM Toolbelt as well on the web app. So you can see we have 1 note, 3 photos, 1 material. I'm done with this work order. Just for consistency's sake, I'm going to say I went back to the property. Now I'm going to change my status to work order finished. From here, we do require a resolution note for what was done with this particular work order. So this would be something like replaced the bedroom window. And then you take that after photo. You can also select the follow-up required option. If you select that, then the status changes to follow-up. Otherwise, if you leave it blank, it'll change to completed in PM Toolbelt. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So now you can see my work order disappeared from the current tab. I got the notification, which means all round of communication was sent out. So let me show you real quick what that looks like on our web app and refresh the page for you right here. I do see there's a question, can you pull location reports based on time? I think I understand what you're asking. If you wanted, you would do location tracking. And right now it's going to say the same area because I have not moved. But here's an example of that. Otherwise, we do have a report called map, and you can pull up the mapping that your technician did. So hopefully that answers your question there. Otherwise, you can feel free to reach out to me later. So here's our work order. The status is now completed. And if I scroll down, you can see the task was checked off because that was taken care of and that the material was added. You can even view the receipt. When I scroll down more, there's all the technician logs. Here's all the communication log. We see the completion note. Then we see the communication that was sent out. So for example, Marcia is my tenant, and I say, we would love to hear your thoughts on the work performed. Please follow the link to provide a review. And that way, Marcia can provide feedback about the work that was done. When I scroll down more, you can see all the photos that were added for this particular work order. So right now, I'm just going to quickly show you when you invoice, we automatically populate all this information. Right now, Itago Smith magically finished this work order very, very quick. but realistically, we would say he worked for 2 hours. So we pay him $19 an hour. We charge out $35 to the owner, and then that material was automatically added. I have a material markup of 20%, which was automatically calculated for me. He paid $25 for a new window, so we're charging out $30 to the owner. That's just a brief overview of how work orders look in our system, how to create them, how to schedule them, and briefly about invoicing. So I do want to touch base on inspections because that's another great feature that we have. On the left-hand side, I go into inspect and I select inspections, and it's the same look. The only difference is now you only see your inspections. We do have a lot of inspection templates. We have this really great new feature called dynamic template. So what a dynamic template means, if you indicate how many bedrooms and how many bathrooms are included on the property, then we'll automatically populate all those rooms for you. So you don't have to have a 5-bedroom 4-bath, a 5-bedroom 3-bath, a 5-bedroom 2-bath inspection template. You can just use our dynamic templates and we'll auto-populate all those for you. And an inspection is really simple and straightforward. I know, let's go ahead and look at this one that was recently completed. From here, you can compare inspections. Let's say you want to compare a move-in versus a move-out. You easily can using our software. We have all of our sections and the responses for these. You can see for the windows there was damage, an estimate of $50, and you can even create a work order from that damage. And so when you scroll through, hopefully I'm not going too quick for everyone, but you get an idea of what it looks like, very similar to a work order page. We see the communication log that was sent out about this particular inspection. So now let me show you inspections on our mobile app. It looks like there is a couple of questions. Does tax get included? I'm assuming you mean for the invoice. If you're talking about for the invoice, we don't do tax. That's what you'd use your accounting software for. And then you can add any of this on our mobile app. That's correct. And then there's another question. If you have multiple issues that need repair but will go to the same vendor, can they be combined? Multiple issues that need to but will go to the same vendor, can they be combined? So if it's multiple issues, then there's a couple of different ways you could do that. You could have separate work orders and combine it into a project, which is a container that would hold all the work orders. Otherwise, you could use our task feature that I showed you where you check batteries, etc., and you could have additional tasks for that work order. So hopefully that answers your question. Right now, I'm going to go into one of my inspections to show you what that looks like on our mobile app. So for example, we can see one is currently in progress. And I'm going to go ahead and change that status to working so I can show you what inspections look like. All right, so similar layout. You can see we've been spending a lot of time on this particular inspection. If I were to hit the pencil and paper icon, I can add rooms, I can download or email this, I can create another inspection, and I can even pull the comparison reporting on the mobile app if you want to compare that move-in versus move-out. I do want to point out for inspections, just like work orders, you can create them also on the fly. If you're in the field and you need to create an inspection, then you'd go back to that inspection tab right here on the left, and you can hit a plus sign to create a new inspection. So when I scroll down more, I see the access method for this particular property is a lockbox, and you can modify anything. If I were to hit these 3 orange lines, I can change the room name, I can duplicate a room, I can add a section, I can delete, etc. And then when I go into each section, you'll see at the very top I can add notes, photos, and even videos. You'll see there are condition questions. We have good, bad, dirty, or broken. If I were to select good or bad, nothing happens. But when I select that dirty or broken, that's when I create the estimate repair for the damage. And that's where you can create the work order that you saw on the web app. So you can see we have star questions if you want to rank 1 through 5. You can answer yes or no questions. If I hit that plus sign, I can add a question. We have 4 types of questions. The text, where you just type a response. Ranking is the 1 through 5. Yes or no is the toggle back and forth. And then we have a condition question, which is the good, bad, dirty, or broken. So for example, for photos, you can do the same thing. You can take photos or select photos. We know there are some people who take lots and lots of photos for inspections. We do support all that capability, and we support video capability as well. So you can see automatically 11 photos was added to that section. Video, you just simply record a video, which is automatically added to the inspection as well. So before I forget, we're getting towards the end of the webinar. I do want to launch my poll. So please, when you have a couple of minutes, make sure you answer those polling questions before we get to the end. So I just wanted to point that out to make sure that I give you everyone enough time to answer those questions. But going through the inspection, you can see I already have some answers on here, playing around. There's a couple of different ways you can navigate within our system. Let's go ahead and add some more photos. There's a couple of different ways to navigate our inspection. At the very top of the page, you will see a tab for bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, etc. So let's go ahead and tab through those different sections to give those answers. How many screens need to be replaced? Let's say 50 screens, because there's a lot of screens in this bedroom. Really more just filling this out so everybody can see the content and what that looks like. So then, as I said, you would tab through bathroom 1, bathroom 2 to answer those questions. Or if it's too confusing to navigate that way, you can go back, and then you can see for all your rooms how many questions were answered and how many you still need to answer. For example, for bedroom 1 with windows, I've answered 0 of the 4 questions, so I know I need to go back in to take care of that. So you can see there was a task associated with this inspection too. I'm a fan of checking for the batteries just in case. And then if I were to change my status, and if I wanted to do work order finished, you can see we also have signature capability as well. And then for signatures, you simply indicate who's signing. That's usually a tenant. And then they would sign it using the touch screen of the phone. And so I do want to point out, if you ever need to email or download this inspection, you could go ahead and do that. I see some people are asking some questions, so I'm just going to go ahead and review some of these. What do the owners get to see on inspections in work orders? So there's 2 things that owners can see when it comes to invoicing. We simply provide the line items and any photos that are associated with the work order. Otherwise, you could always download the work order itself or download the inspection, and you can email it to the owner. We do have emailing capability on our mobile app and web app as well if you know their email. That's not something that I'm capable of, but for example, you would type their email, and then you'd say the format is the owner, so they know what they are going to see. And you can do that in both our software for work orders and inspections. Let's see, there's a couple of other questions here. What is the cost for this program? It does depend on everything that you're interested in. So for example, maintain and inspect are separate features. We're a per user cost. The cheapest option that we have is $50 per user. But that's something that we could talk about more one-on-one, because it does depend on what features you're interested in. And if you integrate, for example, with Rent Manager or QuickBooks Online, there's a small integration fee for that. So we would have to talk further about pricing to really help you out with that. Can you have different pay rates for internal team members? For example, a plumber makes 25 and a handyman makes 18. Then you would upcharge the labor. Oh yeah, definitely. You can have as many different pay rates as you want. So for example, With one technician, you may charge them exactly $25 an hour, but another person 18. We do have a way that you would use our price book categories, and you could do specialty labor. So, for example, if you have an HVAC guy who charges out $200, no matter if he's on the property for 5 minutes or 2 hours, then you could have that as a price book item, and then you could add that to invoicing. Let's see, I have another question. I think this is going to be the last question. We are a couple of minutes over, but I love that everyone's answering those. Can you show the reports that accumulate time by text so we can see how we can use that report for billing or instead of timesheets? Can you show? Sorry, I gotta repeat these questions to myself to make sure I'm understanding the question. Did accumulate time by tech? Okay, yes, most definitely. We have a lot of great reporting features. When it comes to reporting, you would go into vendor work, and I would select my vendor. I'm going to select my technician. I use Itigo a lot. He's going to have some wonky data because he magically completes work orders in a couple minutes. I don't know. He's practically a magician at this point with how efficient he is with his time. But for example, if you wanted to pull a report, you can do a breakdown of how many hours he was working, how long he was traveling, how long he was getting parts. Unbilled means he was clocked in but wasn't working on a work order, for example. And realistically, you'd get an efficiency rating where it would be, say, 85%. So hopefully that's kind of what you were asking. We do have time clock reporting as well. And this is simple when they clock in and clock out at the end of the day. This has nothing to do with work orders themselves. Oh, he hasn't clocked out in a while. I always forget to do that. So really, realistically though, this would show you how many hours that he had worked within the month's time frame. We do have a really great report actually, since we're talking about them, that I'll show everyone, is our vendor work daily. So if I did it for today, let's do it for, let's see, yesterday. Either one of these days, I have to remember which day it is. One of these days, you can pull a report and it does the breakdown of how many hours, how long for the time clock, but it actually shows all the logs and the materials that were purchased. So it's a really great report to find out what your technicians are doing the day before. I imagine it's because I have not been working a lot with this guy, and so he's not showing all the reporting features. And yes, I will most definitely email out this webinar to everyone who attended, and hopefully I can send it over to people who did not attend as well, so they can at least have an opportunity to learn more about our software. So again, I launched a poll. I'd really appreciate if everyone could answer the poll just for feedback purposes. If you found that I was boring or uninformative with what I was showing you, certainly reach out and let me know. I appreciate the feedback, no matter how harsh it may sound. Or if I was awesome, definitely let me know that. If you want to learn more about our software, reach out. At the very beginning of the chat, I provided my name, my email, my phone number, but I'll go ahead and do that again. So my name's Samantha Mascari. My email is samantha@pmtoolbelt.com. My phone number is 651-300-5429. And then I will be sending these recordings via email, but I'll also upload them into our help page, which is help.pmtoolbelt.com. So that's where you can learn more about all the capabilities. If there's something really specific that you're looking for, then we can certainly help you out with that. So thanks everyone for attending the webinar today. Hopefully this was helpful. I appreciate everyone setting aside some time to learn more about our software for the past half an hour. Everyone enjoy your Friday and enjoy the rest of your weekend. There's a couple other people lagging around, so please answer those polling questions if you haven't yet already. And perfect. And I will reach out to some of you who have made some comments to make sure that we can take care of you. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.